Scoring 130 plus points in their second straight game, here's a breakdown of how the Chicago Bulls continue to dominate their opponents. Tied with the Utah Jazz for an NBA most 5-game winning streak right now, despite having dominated for most of the 21-22 season, Chicago's adversaries have not only continually failed to combat the Bulls' success, but even merely slowing down this squad is a real issue for teams. With a widespread attack ranging from top-notch superstars to beastly big men up front, and a deep onslaught 1 through 15, we could be very well looking at a team that's molding into championship caliber right in front of our eyes. Before going any further, only 11.6% of you watching right now are subscribed, so if you haven't already, please subscribe. Also leave a thumbs up, it takes a few seconds and makes a massive difference. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at dflowhoops and I'll follow you back, links in the description for both those platforms. We spoke about them in this video on Tuesday after they took home a beastly W in the ATL. Go watch that video after this if you haven't already, but here's what I've come to realize that's most impressive about this Bulls team. Despite being a squad that's essentially been top 2 in the East for the entire season, Chi-Town's lethal offensive system, fueled by the Splash Brothers in Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, hasn't even come close to being figured out by their opponents. The team's capable of grinding it out for W's in low-scoring affairs, as Chicago ranks a solid 11th in defensive rating. But more impressively, they can also adjust their playing style to high-scoring teams like the Hawks and beat them at their own game. Flurry of wing defenders. Considering this team's missing Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Tony Bradley, and one of their most recent pickups in the former Golden State Warrior and LA Laker Alfonso McKinney, who took the spot of Alize Johnson, the Bulls being far from their best selves is a scary thought. Following an intriguing matchup between the Bulls and Hawks on Monday, the two squads got together yet again on Wednesday night, this time on Madison Street at the United Center. After one back-and-forth opening period with a ton of scoring, that changed in the second quarter where the Bulls ran the Hawks out of the gym, and really from there, the Bulls cruised to an overpowering 131-117 dub. While the Hawks remain extremely short-handed without John Collins, Kevin Huerter, DeLon Wright, Gallo, Onyeka Okongwu, and Gorgui Dieng, the Bulls took care of business in dominant fashion, seamlessly doing exactly what they were supposed to. The face of the franchise for the last half-decade in Zach LaVine led all 7 players in double figures with 25 points on 10 for 13 shooting from the field and 5 for 7 shooting from three-point range. As a team, Chi-Town shot an insane 62% from the field, and they converted 10 of their 22 deep-range bombs. Marking a convincing 22nd W, every one of the 12 Bulls players who graced the court scored at least 2 points, including one of the most recent 10-day signings in Mac McClung. Additionally, Chicago posted a season-most 38 assists, with Kobe White handing out 12 of them. While Mr. White didn't have the best shooting game with 17 points on 6 of 14 from the field and 3 of 9 from 3, kudos to the 21-year-old kid for stepping up with an outstanding playmaking performance. We all know Kobe for his scoring, but man whipped out every bit of weaponry in his bag. White was really struggling with his shooting early on. He didn't get down on himself though, and he was still a positive throughout the entirety of this one, strictly due to how he was perfectly setting up his teammates. It wasn't only Kobe, but Bulls fans had crucial and incredible performances from players up and down their depth chart. Two-time All-Star in the middle, who's made a case for his 3rd spot in Cleveland in February, Nikola Vucevic came up with a massive 16 points, 20 rebounds, and defensively, as he almost always has been this year, Vuce was extremely active as he snatched 3 steals. DeMar DeRozan had a solid 20 points and 8 assists, continuing to shine with his new team. Debo's free agency decision seems to be paying off tremendously, and it's no surprise to me personally, given I posted this vid when DeRozan joined Chicago this past summer. You could point to DeRozan's NBA 5th best 26.8 point per game average, but I'm going to go a bit deeper for this DeRozan breakdown by evaluating his mid-range bucket getting in particular. According to cleaningtheglass.com, in half-court offense, the league average in offensive rating is 93.4 points per 100 plays. The Bulls are at 96.7 points per 100 plays, which is 7th in the NBA. DeRozan is at 0.98 points per shot from the mid-range and at nearly a point per shot on non-restricted area 2s. Then there's the occurrences where DeMar gets to the foul line when attempting mid-range shots. He's still extremely good at baiting defenders in that area, and the new rules haven't affected him whatsoever. Additionally, DeMar's converting 50.7% of his shots on 10.5 two-pointers per game against tight defenses within 2 to 4 feet of him, according to NBA.com. He's at 56.1% on 5 open attempts per game from 4 to 6 feet. His success rate is 51.9% against tight defenses on two-pointers beyond 10 feet, and DeMar's taking 6.7 of those per game. He's at 53.3% on 4.3 open shots of this type per game. The man can easily get to his spot offensively with his handle and IQ with all of his playing years as being a top player, and despite the media telling you all you need is threes right now, all the analytics say these are good shots to take based off how DeMar's shooting. Perhaps DeRozan cools down a bit at some point, but at this point, it's hard to see him dropping off too much. DeMar's mastered the mid-range, and he's definitely the best in the mid-range in the NBA today, but it's also nice to see him hitting 36.5% from 3 on a couple attempts per game. Mixing in a few triples when the time calls for it, along with that mid-range diet, is a good thing. All of this is how you get a true shooting percentage near 60% on high usage, which is absolutely elite. Going back to the game in Chicago last night though, and the extremely underrated, speedy, versatile forward Javonte Green, who's on today's thumbnail, was all over the place with 14 points, including a team-high 8 in the first quarter, as the Bulls put 38 on the board in that quarter. Javonte was also a game-high plus 24 when he was on the court. Off the bench, the Bulls' biggest fan favorite right now with the Bald Mamba sideline, the former Illinois Fighting Illini Ayo Dosunmu showed up in big-time fashion with 14 on 6 of 7 shooting and more stellar defense on Trae Young. And folks all over Twitter were having fun with the Hawks' all-star guard, calling Ayo Trae's father. Young did have 26 points and 11 assists, but also had 7 turnovers and got stuffed by the rookie for a second straight game. Additionally, displaying this roster truly defines the phrase 1 through 15. A player on a two-way contract in Tyler Cook added 10 points and several very loud dunks. Even the former Washington Wizards 15th overall pick in 2018, Troy Brown Jr. got in on the fun as he posted 6 dimes and 3 steals. It was another extremely fast-paced and really fun team effort that was absolute eye candy to watch. After giving up 36 points in the opening frame, as the Illini legend Malcolm Hill did some damage for the Hawks, the Bulls flipped a switch and turned up their defense in the second quarter, turning defense into offense over and over and over. The Bulls had 22 fast break points and a season-high 74 points at half, as a back-and-forth game early on turned into a 21-point laugher. Chicago finished with 31 fast break points for the game overall. The Bulls led by as many as 27 points in the second half before the defense packed it in for the rest of the night, which allowed the Hawks to keep things semi-interesting. But the home team was never threatened because the offense never slowed down much, with the final 14-point margin the closest Atlanta got after things got out of hand in the second quarter. And one of Chicago's kings in Zach LaVine capped this one off with a beastly 360. The Bulls have now won 5 games in a row and are 22-10 heading into a New Year's Eve/New Year's Day back-to-back on the road against the Pacers and Wizards. Buckle up because the new-look Bulls are just getting started with Caruso and Lonzo due to return soon, so knock on wood this team stays healthy for the playoffs because they're awesome to watch right now. How have the Bulls established such an intimidating identity in a short period of time? Best answer to that question in the comments gets next video's shoutout. The top 5 commenters with the most shoutouts by March 21st are going to receive NBA merchandise of their choosing this spring. All 3 commenters from last week's giveaway in Ona Ebodaga, Boston Haltane, and FYI Sin have gotten either a free shoe or jersey of their choosing paid for, and they'll send me back some pictures of their gear when they get it. But today's Speaks winner is Gyps, who says the Pelicans' dominant 10-6 stretch since starting 3-16 isn't a fluke, as Gyps says they're easily a top 5 team in the West right now if Zion and B.I. were healthy. People forget B.I. missed like 10 games this season and that really hurt their record. A great take right there from Gyps, as well as the honorable mentions, and really everyone who left their take on the question last vid gave an awesome answer. I read every single comment, so thanks the world. Hope you have a great one. This was D-Flow, and I'll see you next video.